All right, I've got my other computer here. It's charging, I hope. Um, the battery seems to have issues, so it doesn't stay on for very long even when plugged in. This is about when killing is a selfless act. There's a woman in Boulder who I've been in contact with, and she let me know about Seth hanging himself in a halfway house. He's dead. The Boulder police made his life hell. He was never allowed to defend himself, and he killed himself. Um, but also, back in the 1980s, a lot of you guys weren't alive. You don't remember what it's like before internet. Um, the courts were just as screwed up back then. They really were. This woman's grandmother killed her dad, shot him in the courtroom, and then shot himself in the head. Fuck, right? Remember exactly. Um, the thing is, sometimes killing another human being is a selfless act. When you're raped by a police officer, and him and his buddies, who are police officers, help him to get away with it, refuse to take a report, call you mentally ill, and lock you up and have you drugged in one of these facilities, they're going to do it to someone else. And they might kill that someone else. They're going to do it to more people. And they're fine with it. They know that they'll get away with it because the law is on their side. Why wouldn't they be? They're the law. They can lie about you and charge you with crimes and then say, well, she's only doing that because we charged her with a crime. Really? At that point in time, killing that officer is a selfless act because it prevents him from doing those things to others. Now, when I said that I wouldn't kill a child molester and I wouldn't cut off their balls, a lot of people say, hey, if I encountered one of those people, I'd kill him. I'd cut off his balls. I'd put a 45 between his eyes. No, you fucking wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You're not that selfless. Self preservation is more important to you. For me, self preservation is important as well. I want to have a decent life. See, a lot of these people tell me, well, I had this happen to me or I had that happen to me. But it happened to you once and you're traumatized for life. It's happened to me hundreds of times and I'm supposed to be fine with it. You're a fucking idiot. I'm not willing to kill people. Not because I think that it's morally wrong. In some cases, yeah, defending yourself and that specific children, yes, by all means. But there are other situations where it is a selfless act. When you kill somebody who's trying to kill you, that's not a selfless act, that's self preservation. These people who say that they would kill a child molester, that's a selfless act. That is a selfless act. If someone were to shoot Ted Bollinger in the head, that would be a selfless act. If someone was to shoot Tim Beeson in his head, that would be a selfless act. If someone were to shoot Officer Waylon Ololatai in his head, that would be a selfless act. If someone were to shoot David West in his head, that would be a selfless act. Me, I said that I would expose them, and I have done so. I have done so. I have kept my word to do that. Because if I shoot one of these predators, I go to prison for the rest of my life for killing that predator. Yes, it would be selfless of me to shoot Ted Bollinger in the head. Ted Bollinger is willing to carry a gun. Of course, Ted Bollinger also gets fucked up on meth and fucks his own kids. He's an actual dangerous person. I grew up in hell. I'm dangerous too, but it is my voice that is dangerous. It is my tenacity that is dangerous. It is dangerous to these predators. It is dangerous to these child molesters. It is dangerous to these police officers. And it's on YouTube, so anybody has access to it. Anyone has access to it. Anyone who cares about their rights has access to this information. But in order for my voice to be heard, I have to get an honest day in court. I have to get Alicia Bollinger to admit in court that I didn't molest her or rape her. That's pretty fucking important. By her sister's own admission, we didn't have that kind of relationship. And that right there, evidence from Natalie's own words, proves that what Kara Miles Johnson had to say in my court, where she was allowed to speak all the way from Texas, and I wasn't even allowed to speak in the courtroom, proves that she lied. She slandered my name. She made a false police report. Now, that young woman who was raped, Christy Kelly, was raped in Boulder, Colorado. And they charged her with filing a false police report because she didn't fight off her attacker hard enough. Meanwhile, another woman was raped in Boulder, Colorado, Teresa Macilia, and she was charged with assault for fighting off her attacker, for fighting off her rapist. Imagine that. And Teresa Macilia, it was one of her friends who raped her. It wasn't some stranger out on the streets. It wasn't the person that you're paranoid of. In less than 1% of these cases is it ever a stranger. But the strangers are the ones that you are the most afraid of. No, you need to be afraid of your dad. You need to be afraid of your husband if you have a daughter, or your ex husband. That woman in the 1980s who killed that man, there's a reason that she did it. She felt it was the only way to keep her family safe. Then she shot herself in the head. You guys think that suicide is selfish? How about abusing them to the point that they want to die? That's selfish. That is selfish. Ever since this started, I had people telling me that I'm selfless. I'm selfless. I'm not. I want to take down all of these people, or as many as humanly possible. I want to prevent them from doing these. There are hundreds of predators that I am aware of that could be brought to justice if it weren't for the fact that my name was slandered how it was. Happening to other people, yes, that is a selfless act. I am willing to spend the rest of my life in prison to see to it that these predators go down. I am willing to commit felonies to make sure to force the police to look at this evidence. I'm just not willing to kill people. However, a lot of people threaten to kill me, including the Bollingers and their friends. I believe that because they threaten the lives of my friends and family, that I should have the right to kill Dalton Crawford. I really should. I should have the right to chop the head off of Braxton. I'm not willing to, but I should have the right. It is the right thing to do. If I was to kill all of these predators, Miss Laura wouldn't have to be afraid for her son. She wouldn't have to be afraid for her family. If I was to kill all of these predators and people could see their bodies, they would know they don't have to be afraid of these people anymore. People were actually hurting me because they wanted to pretend. I wanted people to see my corpse so that they would know I'm not going to hurt anyone. I wanted Natalie and Alicia to see my corpse so they would stop pretending like I would hurt them. Because people were actually hurting me over them pretending. Yes, I want the same thing for me that I want for these child molesters. And I'm not a child molester, but I'm treated like one. If you're going to pretend I'm one of those people, make an example of me. If you're going to pretend like I'm a child molester, then kill me or put me in prison. Not over all of the shit that I did to defend myself against the violence that I had to endure over your lies. No, you take me to court. You accuse me in court of being a child molester. You accuse me in court of being a rapist. Or you come put a bullet in my head. You either put me in prison, put a bullet in my head, or you tell the fucking truth, Alicia Bollinger. Maddie Boa. I was raped as a child. I was molested as a child. I was beaten up for the color of my fucking skin. I was forced to either go hungry or eat food that had bugs in it in foster care. I was force fed medications for telling on my predators because my predators had the power to force drugs into me. You goddamn right I'm going to speak out. The fact is, the police in Colorado conspired with the Bollingers to cover up their crimes, and the FBI took part. The fact is, Sheriff Scott DaCosta conspired with his former officers and one current officer to prevent the truth from coming out. Fuck yes, I'm going to speak out. And yes, I do believe that they should be shot in the head. But I believe that them going to prison, or at least losing their jobs so they can't do this to other human beings, is more important because it sets the example. If you're going to do these things to a disabled person, we are not going to let you get away with it. If you are going to cover up for the wrongdoing of rapists and killers, we, the people, are not going to let you get away with it. But you are going to let them get away with it. You are. Alicia Bollinger is a monster. Rihanna was a monster because she was drinking. By Natalie's admission, her dad was a monster because he was drinking. He was also a monster when he was on meth. Alicia Bollinger is a monster for the same reason, because she's an addict. When Shannon Alvarado got some alcohol into her, she turned into a monster too. When she's sober, she's wonderful. Hell, most of the time that Rihanna was, even when she was drunk, she was absolutely wonderful. She was. But she couldn't control herself on the alcohol. And when she started going off, she fucking went off. Amy Spencer doesn't want everybody to know that she's on drugs. Doesn't want everybody to know that she had her children taken once before because of meth. Amy Witcher didn't want the whole world to know that she turned a blind eye to her husband getting fucked up on drugs and molesting her daughter. Why? Because she loved him. Well, great. I love him too. I do. That doesn't mean that what he did isn't wrong. It doesn't mean that it's all right for me to be punished because he did wrong. Right now, the guy that I'm staying with, he isn't here, so I'm able to make videos. And I have a desk, so I'm able to do it more comfortably. It's not snowing outside, so I can do it without my fingers being frozen. I can concentrate better. There's no train going by, and he doesn't have killing going on TV downstairs. The thing with Dexter, that movie that or that show that he likes to watch. I've watched Dexter before. I have. Dexter isn't selfless. He kills those people because he's addicted to it. He loves it. Just like Ted Bollinger loves the control of getting fucked up on drugs and sticking his dick in his daughter. Rochelle Shelley Campbell is a monster. She protected the predator. After all the bullshit that she typed at me, her and Danica Garner and Rochelle Campbell were doing the same thing, pretending like they wanted to help, pretending that they were going to, but never, ever getting around to it. By the time that I had to do something desperate, by the time that I was desperate enough to threaten the President of the United States and threaten the people who had threatened my life, and light that fire over at Ken and Leah's to try to force the FBI to take a look, I'd already been through 7 months of hardcore abuse since Natalie's death, 7 months of police brutality since Natalie's death, 7 months of not being able to actually relax and sit down with my loved ones and do something fun and enjoyable. 7 months of being stressed out because the very limited amount of time that I have to go spend with these people, they want to play video games or they want to tell me how to think and how to feel. I'm like, hey, I came here for the help that you promised. This is not the help that you promised. Why did I go to those people for help? Because going to the police for help didn't work. Why did I go to the police for help? Because going to the source didn't work. Here's why shooting one of these predators in the head, or chopping his head off, or drowning him in a pool, or pouring Drano in his glass of wine. This is why it is a selfless act. Because the person who does this is going to spend the rest of their life in prison for it. And it is worth it to them to endure that sacrifice to guarantee that these predators will never, ever be able to do that to another human being again.